The Old Gold Club, powered by Wolverhampton Building Supplies, with Mikey Burrows and Chris Iwelumo.
Welcome along to the Old Gold Club. I'm Mikey Burrows. Alongside me, as ever, is Chris Iwelumo. And our guest this week spent 6 years as manager at Molineux, taking charge of 269 matches, winning promotion and the championship title, and 3 seasons in the Premier League as well. Welcome to the Old Gold Club, Mick McCarthy.
Thanks, Mikey. Thanks, Chris.
Weird to be back?
It always is, actually, yeah. Walking through... Nice to be back, and I see so many friendly faces. I don't include you two in that, of course. But I do see so many friendly faces when I come back. But it's strange. It's just, when you've left a place, Chris, I don't know what you're like if you ever go back to a club you've played at. It's nice to go back, but I feel like I'm trespassing as well. It's somebody else's gig now, so it's strange. And when you've been the manager, maybe it's different. But it's lovely to be back. I always enjoy it, yeah.
Because you've been back, obviously, as manager a couple of times and always had a pretty decent reception, I thought.
Very good. Yeah, very good, yeah. I don't know, 3 times, is it? 3 times, and always got well received, yeah. Well, I think, look, I had a good time here. I enjoyed it. It's when you get the sack in, eventually it's usually going wrong. But, 6 years almost. I had a wonderful time. Loved it.
Yeah, it says a lot, obviously getting that reception, you brought a lot of success. I remember when I always came up against Wolves before I came, and it was like, if you get in their faces, the fans can turn and use that. But I never really experienced that here. From the minute we walked in, it was great times, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. We had a good team. I mean, I looked at some of the comments recently. I looked at the summary of the seasons, because I've been at Ipswich since, and I can't remember every single game I've been at, and played 965 games as a manager. But it was about how when I came in 2006, we changed it to young and hungry, and it was young and hungry because we ain't got any money. We were skint. That's why. So that was my designed by me, because what I didn't want to do is take in old pros. I think that had been done before here. And so we did. We went for younger and hungry. If somebody had said, here's 20 million, you can spend that, maybe I'd have been a different thought process. But it wasn't. I understood when I got the job. And there was a great environment created, and I think people coming here with a great desire to play for Wolves and do well.
Because we go back to your first press conference, where the famous saying where you said MM stands for Mick McCarthy, not Merlin the Magician.
that was off the cuff, by the way. I hadn't thought about that. And the reason being, because I'd walked into what is a really big club that was languishing, and by the way, people expecting to get relegated. But the press conference was all talking about how big a club it was, and getting back to the Premier League. And I've walked into a club that's got, if you look at the players that left that season, and I'd still got Paul Ince, who didn't know whether he was coming in or whether he was going. He wanted the manager's job, were they going to give it? There was some suggestion it was a racist thing because I'd got the job and he hadn't. There was all sorts of going on. And I'd only got about 10 players at the time. And you lot, if I'm including you in that.
I wasn't there at the time.
I'm still including you, whether you're there or not. The press, it was almost like I was going to turn the club around there and then. And I'm just thinking, that's when I said, hold on a minute, it's Mick McCarthy, not Merlin the Magician. It wasn't what I thought. But of course, all the players that were brought in, it turned it around. We did end up playing in the playoffs that year.
Yeah. How much harder does that make, that decision to bring in young, hungry players? Because that first season, you probably surpassed expectation, getting into the playoffs. That brings greater expectation in itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, we had some experience as well. We had Breeny in the team, and it was funny because Jay Bothroyd came in almost immediately, and my love-hate relationship we haven't done with Jay for about 3 seasons. But he did well. But it gave it an experienced bit as well. But I'm thinking about. And I can't remember when they all came in, but Kevin Foley and Matt Jarvis, and they maybe were a bit later on for anybody who's listening to this and saying that didn't happen then. But there was still that element of young, hungry, and relatively cheap players coming into the building. But what I really liked about them, they all wanted to go up. They weren't lads who coming into Wolves and thinking, well, I'll have a nice little career here and I'm on the way down, I'll get well paid. These were hungry to succeed, and it pretty much worked.
Because people forget, I think, that, obviously in your first season you had Matt Murray, who then you lose on the eve of the playoffs and have to make that thing. And then you've had, in the second season, you've got Shale Fanyana, who's a big part of the team, and then he goes.
Yeah.
So by the time you get to the promotion year, you've already kind of gone through these stages of building that team together.
Yeah, well, one of the best signings I had, and he's much maligned, is Karl Henry. And it was funny because I remember when Steve Morgan took the job, I don't think he particularly liked him because he'd be asking me the team, and I'd say Karl Henry, there'd be a big silence. And I knew he always wanted me to fill that silence, but I never did. Because it was but so Karl, when we were in the Premier League, and he did really well there, but I remember watching him here. We played and we took him as a trialist in a game against Aston Villa, and Taff, who was with me, and Evans, I said at half time, he's not going anywhere, he's staying. If we can have him, he's staying. And he just was he was a real focal point in that team, doing all the horrible jobs, the Kante jobs. No, he's not as good as Kante. The Deschamps jobs. No, he's not as good as Deschamps. But he was in my Wolves team in the Championship, so he was doing those jobs that all those others do, and don't really get recognised for it either. And he was great for the club. He really was.
It's funny how you met. We've had Karl on the show, and he speaks so highly of yourself. And he spoke about a conversation that you had, that you said to him that you need to work with me more, Karl, because he's seen himself as a players' captain. You know, he was there to represent the players, and that's basically what he did. Like you are as honest as the day's long. That's what you got from him as a captain as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, he was, and I listen. It's well known. I fell out with him in the end almost because I took the captaincy off him. That turned out to be a mistake by me as well, by the way, whether I should have replaced him with another captain. But I still get on well with him, still speak to him, still respect him, and respect him for the job he did for me and for the club. But that's my point. He was a young fella that wanted to come in, and then whoever else, all the others came in alongside him. I mean, the work that we used to do, we used to run teams off the park. They were terrific, the lads, and they were a real togetherness about the team as well.
Because he, by the way, he's said on this podcast that he now looking back on it with the benefit of experience he has in his career, he fully understands why you took the captaincy off him at that time.
Wow, that's well. I'm not going to go into it. He knows. He was actually starting to behave. He was a backroom lawyer. He became at one stage towards the end.
Always was.
Oh yeah. And actually, it changed then towards the end because it was a bit like wanting to change how we'd done it. You know, we can't go closing teams. We can't go do this pressing. We can't do this. It's. And I thought, well, once that thought process comes in, then you know he's not doing exactly as I would have wanted him to do. But I'm saying here on this podcast, on this show, that he was one of the best signings I had, and was one of the reasons why it turned around, because for all the Michael Kiteleys, Matt Jarvis's, Looms who put a shift in, Sylvan, who, my nickname for him was Stud, because if he didn't score, he was always stood doing nothing. And I'm not so sure he thought it was for that reason, but anyway. Then the likes of Karl and Dave Jones doing that, those two in the middle of the park there, doing all those dirty jobs but playing, and Karl recognised that he wasn't the Dave Jones going to flick it up and volley at the top corner. He was probably going to get 5 goals. I don't know what he got. Did he get 5 while he was here in all his career? I remember the one he got at Charlton when we beat them down there. That was brilliant.
He scored at Watford away as well.
Yeah, see, you can remember the ones he got. That tells you, doesn't it? So. But that squad, he epitomised what that was all about when we were here.
Can I ask you then, because it's a it must be difficult for a manager when you see a talent as a footballer, and they have maybe certain demands, and that might be your chance to bring a player in that you've always admired without really knowing the character of the player. So to take the captaincy off someone that you say is your best signing, that's a big, because I know what you're like as a man, I know what you're like as a manager. That must be you must have fought with yourself a long time before making that decision.
I did, and I thought it was the right decision. It just turned out to be the wrong decision to make Roger Johnson the captain instead of him. That was a wrong decision in my view. But hey, I've made some good and some bad throughout my career.
Yeah.
I've just said 965 games. If you don't make some mistakes throughout it, it's actually recognising them as well and admitting them to yourself as much as anything. I don't have to go and broadcast them to everybody. It's way down the line now. I'm out of here. I've had two jobs since that. But wow, I'm saying I've had two jobs. Wolves have had 7 managers since I left, and it's 7 years ago.
No, very true.
But was that scenario, would that be your biggest regret for when you were managing Wolves? What led from that scenario?
No, I don't regret doing it because I thought it was the right thing to do. And actually to take it off him probably was because he'd questioned my authority at the end of the season prior to the extent that he wasn't going to be the captain for doing that as much as anything. Looms and I just talked about it. I don't fall out with it. He still played in the team, but I thought somebody's going to have to be my captain. Who's going to be, as he'd done for 4 or 5 years prior to that, being my stalwart, being my back to everything I'd done, being in the dressing room, banging the drum for what we're doing, not for what the players wanted or what he might think like a change.
Because when you look at what happened, I mean, from that kind of turning point, I guess, and the way the club then went, and even after you left and where the club ended up, do you look back on that period and think, I could have done other things to stop that?
Yeah, I don't think the recruitment turned out not to be great, and that was I said Roger Johnson, then Molineux. Yes, from Belgium.
Jelle van
Dam. Jamie O'Hara. I'm thinking we're signing better players, and actually I didn't. And I think everybody thought that. We all thought it. But it turned out it wasn't. We weren't better than Christophe Berra, certainly weren't better than David Jones. And some of them, when we went and did the scouting, we go and watch Jelle van Dam play for a top team in Belgium.
Anderlecht, I think
was it Anderlecht?
Anyway,
Standard Liège, I think it was. And he was a star in that team. We watched Nenad Miliaš play for Red Star Belgrade, star in that team. But then they come to us, and they've been used to having the ball for 55-60% of the time. And there were stars in those teams. They come to us, we've got the ball for 40-35% of the team. They didn't like running around. They didn't like the physicality of it. They didn't like the hard work of it. And I said Roger Johnson wasn't nowhere near better than Christophe Berra. And Jamie O'Hara was nowhere near the lads that we'd already got. But we all thought we were trying to do better and actually got similar, maybe not as good in some respects, paid money for them and actually paid more wages.
Yeah, we touched on it obviously off air as well about there's egos come into it as well, didn't it? You say Christophe Berra there, David Jones, these are people that they understood exactly what you were putting. They would run through a brick wall for the manager because they believed in what. But then there's a certain calibre of player, and it might be a better footballer. But again, it's important about the character that you're bringing into the dressing room as well, that can create divide, that can be a poisonous voice, that can contaminate the dressing room as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's a bit of that. I'm not going to go into that one because then I end up being really personal about things. But that certainly was there, and that didn't help the dressing room at all. And I have to say, I would commend the lads like Sir Dave Jones, Christophe Berra, who lost their positions, and never ever changed that. Their personalities were still the same and still continue to support what we've been trying to do. But if I looked at that and I thought for 2 seasons it was pretty much the same squad, just a little additions, Fletch coming in, you tell me who came in. We had Doyle come in. All those lads bought into what we were doing.
Yeah.
And then we stayed up. What was it, by goal difference and that? So you have to try and be better. So we did try and be better, and actually, in some respects, it made us worse because we lost that. The dressing room lost a bit of the ethos that I'd had for the 5 years, and I recognised that. I recognised it when I left, and it's that's sad, but it was all done. It was all done in the best possible taste. It was all done for the best reasons, for the right reasons. It didn't work.
Because it's always the thing that I think fans will look at and ask, and I did it from the position that we're in, because for the first 2 seasons, I was saying to Looms earlier, people sometimes forget that you went and won at Liverpool, you won away at Tottenham, you beat Chelsea, Man City, Man United at home. There were some really impressive games and performances.
Yeah, you just reminded me of one which sticks out, of course, is the Tottenham game, and we beat them. Dave did his ankle at Tottenham. We had one player that got injured. Dave Edwards got injured there. Did really badly dislocated his ankle. I think I did his ankle ligaments. And so this is, because the version of the events when it happened was that game. We won 1-0, and we'd been battered in the second half. Great result. So we've got Tottenham away, Man United away, Burnley at home. I looked at each other, and I come in on the Sunday morning, and I look at that. I've said to Taff already, I said, by the way, it was been TC, not Taff. Yeah. So I said to TC, I start looking at what changes I could make to freshen it up, because we got Burnley coming. I said, I'm leaving them all out. I'm going to change it completely. I'd been in the dressing room. It was like a scene from a film of the Crimean War. There were bandages, and it was unbelievable. Yeah. Seriously, it was. Yeah. Everybody was absolutely shattered. It was an unbelievable performance. We jumped on the bus, come straight back. Everybody's as stiff as a board. And I remember going to the dressing room and telling the lads, and they're all like, And I said to them, hold on a minute. So you all want to play at Old Trafford? I said, we've got 3 games. I want to get the maximum points out of it. So you all play on Tuesday night. We've got Burnley we've got to beat. Home game against Burnley, got to beat them. I'm leaving you all out. I said, if you want to play at Old Trafford, make sure we stay up. And let's play at Old Trafford next year. Let's go there for the next 5 years. Let's be a team that stays in the Premier League. So I knew, and of course then I got everything from Steve Morgan, Jez coming, and somebody saying to me, well, could you just leave a few out? I said, well, that's not going to make it any easier to beat Man United. So it was my decision, solely my decision. Left them all out. And we lost, and I always remember the fans thinking we paid so much to watch the reserves. And then we've got Burnley coming. Talk about pressure on that game. And if you remember after the game, I got everybody together, huddle on the pitch, and it was purpose. And I've basically said, look, sod the rest of them. You're either in the tent weeing out, outside the tent peeing in with me. And the lads were great. Everybody was up for it. And we got 6 points from Tottenham away, Man United away, and Burnley at home. And to this day, my view is that was good management, that we actually beat Burnley. And I remember, was a manager at the time, Burnley. It was, oh God, should not play for Ireland with me. But anyway, and I remember speaking after, and he said, no, I've got no problems with it. He did right. It was fine. Go and tell me.
I will look it up for you.
So that was a real tough period in my history at Wolves, but I still maintain it was the right decisions.
But it's like you say, I think the day's gone that it is just about that 11 or that 14. You got to use the squad now, haven't you? That's what the squad's there for. So, difficult management decision, but it's good management in the end, isn't it? But you knew what was coming from the powers that be about making something like that, aren't you? You do know, but the players did buy into it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was necessary to do. Have you seen it yet?
Owen Coyle?
Owen Coyle. Coyley, of course. I know Coyley's my mate. I still can't remember. I headed too many footballs, man, I'm telling you. So Coyley was fine. I remember speaking to him afterwards, he says, listen, mate, you did the right decision. You got 6 points. But, I knew it was coming, Chris, yeah. I mean, it was coming. What irked me, and still does irk me, is that it came from within as well. surely the decision to manage something, to get 6 points from those games when all we were expecting was 3 in reality. Tottenham away, Man United away, Burnley at home. 3 points from that, if you're going, so long as you beat Burnley, no, we took 6.
Yeah.
So, and we conceded from a corner against Man United, which we should never have done, went 1-0 down. And then, of course, it's carnage from everybody, from a lot of the fans that travelled, we all wanted to see us go and beat Man United. How many times have they beat Man United since? So it was just the most ridiculous situation that I found myself in. And what I found was I was fighting against the Premier League, everybody's opinion. But what really irked me and hurt me was from opinions from inside that thought maybe I should have done something different. And when my job was to win games. We had the discussion before. To get as many points as we could to stay in the Premier League.
I have to touch on that then, just because you said that it came from within. So that moment that you did leave the club and it was left in the hands of TC, was he prepared for that responsibility that came from above, the politics, as you say, of being a manager? How do you feel about that whole situation? Because we had TC on and he says that obviously you spoke daily, but he said himself that he wasn't prepared for it. But what information did you give him?
TC had been sacked with me. TC's boxes were packed at the side of his desk.
Yeah, he said, yeah.
They were packed. He'd been sacked. His wages had been stopped. He was out the door with me. And then it went on for a while, and people came and went. I think Neil Warnock came, did Curbs come. They were talking about all sorts of different things. And then, for whatever reason, I don't know what, there was no manager appointed, then they give it TC and asked TC to do it. And I rang him up and I said, go for it, mate, crack on. I said, do you know something I didn't? Were you not sharing anything with me? I did. He was at the end of the phone. I was in Florida. And no, I don't, Gaffer. But anyway, I said, well, look, good luck, the very best of luck. If I can help, by all means. Never spoke. He didn't ring me for any help. He did. I didn't expect he would. He had to go and paddle his own canoe. And he did it. But when I came back from Florida then 2 weeks later, and I walked in to see him, I said, I'll come and see you. Gaffer, you look, how well do you look? He said, I can't believe, I didn't realise how bad you look while you were here. He said, you're like a different bloke. I said, I know, and so do you. Now the pressure's on. So we laughed about it, and what I really liked, in my office, you'd come in, my office, TC, when I got the job, you got to come in here, you sit in my office, we're together, we'd make the decisions. And when I walked in, my desk was pristine, and on it was just a card, it was from Fayetteville, my PA, who's wonderful, I'm in contact with on a regular basis, and it just said, to something like to the next manager, it was for the PA, this is it. Nobody touched my desk. Nobody sat in the chair. I said, are you not sitting here, T? No, I'm not. No way. I'm staying here. Car park spot was still the same. Nobody in that.
Yeah.
He's not going to fill that. He was just doing the job. And sadly, it didn't work out for him in terms of results. But it was unlikely, bearing in mind.
Well, he said that
12 games to go. We'd gone down in goal difference. You know?
Yeah. Well, he said that if the combined intellect of the two of you couldn't sort out the issues there, then he wouldn't be able to do it on his own.
No, because TC is a really good coach. I'd put him down as a better coach than me. But then, in terms of the management, I think having done it for 20 odd years, and I'm better at that side of it than he is, and so. Collectively, we're a really good partnership, you know, and he does the management in a different way. He goes and does speaking to players and management, knowing he's got my backing, and I've asked him to do it, and he goes and does it, and he does it in his own inimitable way, and he's very good with players. But then and he said to me, I think there were some days when I used to come out to the training ground, he's doing the session, I'd come out when the warm-up's gone, and I'd been. He said, Gaffer, sometimes I wondered why you couldn't be out at 10:30. He said, then I realised I'm stuck in the office and Weaves was doing the warm-up, and he said, I'm not going to be out there till 11 o'clock. He said, I suddenly realised that you've got far more to do than just be out on the pitch training the players. You know, you've got all this other stuff, managing going on. And of course, it was pretty much at crisis point, wasn't he? So he didn't inherit it in any sort of shape.
Well, I wondered when you look at it now, if it hadn't have been Albion, do you think you'd have survived longer? Because you went into that game off the back of a win.
Yeah, but let's just go back 2 games. When we played Liverpool here, and Steve, the chairman, the owner, comes into the dressing room, and it's his team, Liverpool. I think he was really offended by how we played. We lost. Well, it was Liverpool by all means, and kicked off, and said to me, he just told us all. He was what he thought of us all. Didn't want me to speak. So I said at the time, did it undermine me? Of course it did. I said at the time it didn't, because I wanted to stay in the job and continue doing it, and not to be seeing that. But as I said at the time, it's his club. There's not a lot you can do about it if they come in. I could either walk, which I'm never going to do because I want to do it, and then we went to QPR, didn't we?
Yeah. And
we beat QPR. Somebody got sent off.
Jibril Cisse.
Jibril Cisse got sent off. Yeah. I met him since. I did a TV show. I did a commentator on a game with him, and he had the worst shoes on I'd ever seen. Seriously. And I did comment on them, by the way. I said, you deserve sending off for them as well. And we beat them, so everything seemed to be okay. And then we came back and we'd played 4-4-2 at QPR. I'd got Doyler on the pitch, I'd got Sylvan on the pitch, and the team was an unbelievable attacking team. And I'd been watching how West Brom had played, and I thought they'd play the same way. So I stuck with the team that we'd been at QPR. And it was wrong. Roy came and played 4-3-3, 5 in midfield. We were exposed. They had the ball. We couldn't get the ball off and playing 4-4-2. And actually the game, and I'm sure TC would have said it at the time if he was on and he spoke about it, we wanted out, we were getting battered. But we got back to 1-1, didn't we? And I think we hit the crossbar. Right. And then it looked like we were going to get back in it. Then they scored one, and it's 2-1, and then it goes 3-1, 4-1, 5, and we looked awful. So it was no surprise then. I mean, I went. One of the biggest regrets, I had to walk out the back door. The last time I left, I had to walk up the track and out into the car park because there was people waiting to give me abuse. But I understand that it's West Brom, it's the big enemy and all that. So, and then when I came back in, it was must have been Monday morning. So Sunday, did we come in on Sunday? I can't remember. Had we got a game? And me, TC, Pat Mount and Steve Weaver sat on the bikes watching the games again. And Jez came in. It was like if you'd have come in with a hood and a scythe, it would have been appropriate. I got the curly finger, Chris, and I couldn't hide. No, it was like, mate, can I have a word with you? I mean, everybody, the place, the temperature dropped. We all know what was happening. So. And with the heavy heart, Jez told me it was, he didn't want that to be happening. I can tell you, but and I think because what was the guys hadn't stopped fighting for me. They hadn't stopped playing. It wasn't like people had down tools. Yeah. That wasn't the case, and you could tell that when everybody got to find out. I mean, lads are coming into my office, and some of them are in tears about it. Thinking that they let me down. So the spirit was still there, but we weren't getting results.
So Steve coming into the dressing room, do you think that was the starting point? He's got his finger on the trigger then, just waiting for that moment, or
I don't know.
What was the relationship like after that moment? Because I know you're a very proud person, but you speak your mind. I don't imagine you being in the same company and it not being able to come up like the elephant in the room, as they say. I think it's something that you would have discussed.
Well, we had a game pretty quickly. Do you know what? I can't remember. I certainly didn't. I did go up and see him, yeah. I did, and I can't remember. Yes, I did, and made me point clear that I think it was on the Monday afterwards, after that game. And did have a clear the air meeting, I did.
You have to.
Say as I felt, that it is undermining, and how players thought about it. But I was never going to interject when he's talking, because I think I had done. He came and he was furious, he was angry. And I think if I had done and I had getting angry, that could, in the dressing room, I'm not going to be fighting with the owner of a football club or, ending up in a row, then suddenly that exacerbates everything.
Of course it does, yeah.
And on that one occasion, age doesn't give you a lot of things. Experience does. Sometimes it's wise just to shut your gob and listen and take it and take the fight elsewhere. So I did, and to be fair, and I give Steve, he was fine about it as well. He still thought passionately about what he'd said. I think when I explained what it might have done to the team and to me, and how they saw me, how they saw him, might have a negative impact. But of course, then we go and beat QPR away. So that was a real tough time, a learning time for me. Yeah. But I also have to look at how I might have felt if I owned the club, and my team had just gone down 3-0 and we were struggling. I might have come in and raised the roof and had a go as well. So I think I'm quick to look at how I would see it from the other perspective. But yeah, it was no surprises. I mean, when we lost 5, it wouldn't have been surprised if somebody had come down and said, "Look, pack your bags, go." I think the only surprise was that I think it went till Sunday morning or Monday morning, whatever it was. Well, did we play on Sunday?
Sunday, yeah.
We played on the Sunday, so it was the Monday morning. I'm back in on the bike, and like I said, Jez the Grim Reaper came in. he didn't want that job either, because we'd had 5.5 years of pretty much success. Because staying in the league was success for us, with the budget that we'd had. So yeah, that was a real sad time. But I don't. By the way, I don't look back and think anything bad about Steve. I've got a good relationship with him still. Jez. Got a really good relationship with Jez and anybody at the club, because at the end of it, we dropped into the bottom 3. I'd had 5.5 years, and you know what? I could understand it, almost appeasing the fans. Fans wouldn't want me to be. After that, there'd have been a lot of fans thinking, I think it's probably time to go. That's me seeing the other side of it, what other people think.
Yeah. We're going to talk more about the 5.5 years before that.
There's some happy times as well. We've had some good times.
And a lot of that chat will be on our podcast extra, which will be available to download from all the usual places. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you download that podcast extra with Mick McCarthy.
The Old Gold Club, powered by Wolverhampton Building Supplies, with Mikey Burrows and Chris Iwelumo.